Hi, Lee Phillips. I want to talk about what I'm going to call a special needs trust or a supplemental needs trusts. In the industry, it's an SNT. Special needs. Let's say we have a child who is disabled in some way. They get government assistance. We have a child who got divorced and X isn't given the girl or the child, your child and your grandkids any money. So they're on food stamps. They've got government assistance in some way. Well, how do I structure it so that if they get an inheritance from me, they don't lose their government assistance? The child's on disability. They're disabled. They have special education programs. They have all of this stuff. And I really want that to continue for my kid or my grandkid. And how do I do that if I want to leave them some money when I die too? You could also use a special needs trust or a supplemental needs trust to qualify mom for Medicaid. I'm not going to talk about that right now. That's a whole different gig, okay? We have 5-year rules and all that crap. Qualifying mom for Medicaid. But let's look at the special needs trust, primarily of a child. If I give the child their third share of my estate, that's going to give them enough money and then they're no longer going to qualify for the disability or the, maybe for the disability, but for the food stamps and the extra government programs and stuff that this child needs to live. And that's fine. I'm not issuing a judgment on that at all. I've paid into Medicare. I've paid into my taxes all of my life. If my kid can use welfare in some way, food stamps, whatever it is, special treatment for the kids in school, fine, let's do it. But if I'm leaving them a bunch of money, that upsets the whole apple cart, so to speak. So what we use is we use a special needs trust. It's kind of like any other trust. I say that each kid gets a third share except Johnny's share, the kid that's on disability special needs, in the government program, they don't get their share. Their share is held in trust for them. They don't get it. It's not distributed to them. Everybody else's share is distributed. This share is held in trust, and we don't call it a special needs trust, but this is what I'm describing. The key is that the trustee has no obligation to ever use one dime of that share for that kid. Now, you've got to have a trustee that you trust in this situation, obviously, because I can't write into the document that the trustee has any obligation to do anything for this child. And a mistake I see in lots of these is the lawyer will write it and it says the trustee has discretion, unfettered discretion, to use the share for the health, education, and support of the child. Well, as soon as you say health, education, and support, the IRS says that gives the child right to the health, education, and support. It's what's called the Ascertainable standard. We use it in trusts so that we can tie a string to the ability to use these assets, and they're not included in the estate where the individual can only have benefit of these assets for their health, education, and support. This isn't what we're talking about here. And as soon as you put that language in there, the government has said, okay, that person now has a right to the benefit of that share. So we have to make it unfettered, that the trustee has 100% discretion. They never have to give a damn dime to this individual. Now, the trustee can help the individual. There are things that you can buy, clothing and that sort of thing, that don't go against the qualification of the individual for government programs. So the trustee's going to have to be tutored a little on this. But if I set up the trust as the special needs trust, which means that the trustee has 100% control over how they distribute these assets, if they ever distribute these assets to the individual, then the government says, okay, they don't have a right to it. Therefore, I can't count their share, their inheritance, against their qualification for the government assistance. This comes up in a lot of cases, guys, and it's important to do this if you have a family member on government assistance. Because as soon as you give them the big chunk of money from the inheritance, they lose the assistance. And it's hard to get these assistants qualified for. And yeah, they may be able to live a year or two without assistance and spend all the money you gave them. Then they don't have any more money to buy the clothes or do any of the rest of the stuff. So it's much better to hold the money back, continue with the government assistance, and let the trustee have discretion as to how or if they ever help this individual. It's called a special needs trust. Share this with people who might have a special needs individual, because this is important that they know it. And if you don't walk in and say, Mr. Lawyer, I need a special needs trust, sometimes, often, the lawyer never figures out that you need a special needs trust. So you've got to educate everybody enough to understand that you can protect this government assistance for this individual and still leave assets to them in mom and dad's estate. Lee Phillips, I'm talking on special needs trusts. In fact, get my materials on how to use a trust. It's free. Just click on the thingy down there and make sure you love us and like us and all of that sort of garbage. In fact, leave me comments. I answer the comments, guys. So special needs, it's a big deal.